This right here was a fantastic video, and if you guys do want to check out the YouTuber that made it, I'll leave the link in the description below. I found this to be an incredible video at explaining dating apps and also at explaining the ELO, what's going on between men and women in the dating scene. So if a lot of you guys are feeling ugly when you guys put yourselves on dating apps, there is a reason why you're not getting matches. Now, with that being said, we over here have had a lot of success with coaching, especially in terms of dating apps. We've had so much success with guys in terms of them thinking that they can never get any success on dating apps to having women knocking on their door, trying to get them out, trying to hang out with them. And I'll say this, if you don't think you can improve dating apps, I'm telling you right now, yes, you can. There's so much you can do, and most people are not utilizing so many different variables that you can use. We have found it to be an extra stream of income, and I understand a lot of you guys might be very apprehensive, especially in the eye of rejection. It's very terrifying putting yourself out there to not get swiped on any girls, but you can improve through consistent action. I've been a coach now for coming up on 10 years. I've worked with multiple companies, and I worked with actually a company specifically in dating apps where I was their head coach. So if you don't think that you can improve dating apps, I'm here to tell you, yes, you can. All right, now let's jump into the video.
Two friends install a dating app and try their luck. The man tries to set up the perfect profile. A nice front picture, a group picture to make it seem like he has friends, a picture in Paris to make it seem like he's cultured, and a picture climbing mountains to make it seem like he's adventurous. After some hard work, the profile is ready. The woman doesn't feel safe sharing a lot of personal information, so she chooses the first picture she can find, and she's ready to go. They start swiping and hope for the best. At the end of the day, when the woman checks her phone, her like counter is full. Practically every profile she likes is an instant match. Soon, she's overwhelmed by the amount of matches and messages in her inbox. For the man, it's a different story. So far, he has only received a couple of likes and has 0 matches. He becomes frustrated with the app and starts questioning his self-image. He puts so much effort into setting up a nice profile after all. Why can't he get any matches? To answer that question, we need to understand the numbers behind dating apps. I made a simulation of a dating app with 1,000 dummies to try to understand why men get so few matches. Dating apps can paint a distorted picture of what the real dating world is like. Some studies indicate that dating apps can have a negative impact on self-esteem, with a stronger effect on men. And women often have to find strategies to deal with intrusive behavior from men in these apps. It's hard to understand exactly what's going on inside these apps because there's very little data available. However, we can make educated guesses based on the little information we have. I'll start with an ideal, unrealistic scenario, and we'll see how quickly things change when I start adding real-life variables. A side note, we're talking about dating with opposite genders. Same-gender dating in dating apps has very different dynamics and is out of scope for this video. Since we're trying to make an ideal scenario, let's assume we have the same amount of men and women using the app. Let's also assume that everyone sees 100 profiles per day and that every profile is treated equally by the algorithm. I'm going to assume that users like 1 out of 4 profiles they see. This means every user has a probability of 25% of being liked every time their profile is shown. Some of these parameters aren't realistic, but that's okay. We're going to start like this and make it more realistic as we go. So, how many likes and matches will everyone get at the end of the day? Let's run the simulation. Okay, not too bad. On average, both women and men get 25 likes and 6 matches per day. So, why does this look different from real dating apps? Let's start with reason number 1. There are more male than female users. I was able to find user gender data for Tinder and Bumble, 2 of the most popular dating apps in the world. In both apps, there were significantly more men using the app than women. In our simulation, I'm going to keep it simple and assume we have 2 men for every woman, a ratio somewhere between Tinders and Bumbles. I ran the simulation again and the differences were big. I'm going to give you a chance to pause the video in case you want to try to guess how many likes and matches users get. We now start to see the first signs of a gender imbalance in the results. Because there are 2 men for every woman, the number of likes received by the women doubled and the number of likes received by the men halved. And when we look at the number of matches, something interesting happens. Women received an average of 50 likes. Since they like 1 out of 4 profiles, you would expect them to get an average of 12 or 13 matches. However, they only get 6. That's because now there are so many male users that women don't even get a chance to see half of the users that like them. They only see 100 profiles per day, and there are just too many men in the queue. At this point, it makes sense that women start to feel a bit overwhelmed by the amount of likes they receive. Because they often encounter intrusive behavior from men that also makes them think carefully about who they give likes to. Men, on the other hand, are starting to get a bit desperate.
I cannot remember if he actually mentions this, but women also have a dating strategy that is meant to be more picky and more... men and women are just different. So women are more made to choose the most powerful guy. And they can only have one baby. Guys can have babies with multitudes of different women. And so there becomes this role where sometimes men are more the providers and some guys are more the rock star types that's have sex with all the girls, and all the girls want, to be fair, that guy because every other girl wants that guy. There's actually a study done on this, and they talk about how in prehistory times, half of the men's genetic history was weeded out of existence. So for every one mother, for every 2 mothers, there was 1 father. So what does that mean? That means that half the guys are being blown out by competition. So dating apps, unfortunately, because women have even more choices, it creates an exponential curve growth. So where they now have more access to people at a higher level, they now are choosing those guys. They're going after those men. But the thing is, those men are also the ones that get all the women, so it's hard to tie down a guy like that. So then they get aggravated and they get annoyed.
Because they don't get a lot of likes, they know they can't be too picky and start giving likes more generously to improve their chances of getting matches. Which leads us to reason number 2. Men give more likes than women. According to this New York Times article from 2014, men are nearly 3 times as likely to like a profile than women on Tinder.
Yep.
So let's use those.
You want to be very picky to counterbalance the algorithm, and as you improve in your dating apps and as your apps get better, you want to get pickier and pickier. Make it more to the point where you only swipe on a very high level of girl, and the algorithm's going to pick that up as long as your profile also matches those girls in value. If you have a bunch of photos that are out of focus that make you look emotionally unintelligent, like you'd be weird on a date, that are giving off like where your hands are awkward, or it's like you're taking a picture in your bathroom with a selfie, it's going to tell the girls on some level that you're not socially intelligent, not cool, not high value, and they're not going to swipe on you. A lot of you guys actually are, to be fair, are very attractive guys, or like guys who could present themselves in an attractive way and could get a lot of girls on these dating apps, but you guys don't know how to present yourselves in that way.
Those numbers. I'm updating the simulations that women and men give likes in 14 and 46% of cases, respectively. So, how do you think this is going to change the results? Now the gender imbalance increases even further.
Yep.
Women get an average of 92 likes, whereas men only get 7. And because men like 46% of the users they see, these 7 likes result on an average of 3.2 matches. Women get twice as many, an average of 6.4 matches per day. But things can get even more complicated for the average male user. Attractiveness is subjective, but the reality is that some profiles will be considered attractive by more users than others. Which brings us to reason number 3. A small share of the users get a big share of the likes. In a Q&A post from 2017 on Hinge's official website, one of the engineers behind the dating app shared some data about this imbalance. He mentioned that certain people get exponentially more attention than others. He reported that about half the likes from men were given to about 25% of women, and half the likes from women were given to only 15% of men. This means that, especially with men, there's a small segment of users that get a large slice of the total likes. Let's try to include that in our simulation. I'm giving every user a score from 0 to 100% that determines how attractive they are perceived by other users. Until now, attractiveness has had no impact on the probability of getting likes. That means that every time a profile was shown, the probability of that profile being liked was 46 and 14% for women and men, respectively, regardless of their perceived attractiveness. I'm now looking for new distributions such that the top users get exponentially more likes, but while making sure the average like percentages stay the same. I went for the simplest formulas I could come up with, and you can find my assumptions on the screen in case you're interested. Basically, I assume that users with an attractiveness score of 0 have 0% chance of getting likes, and users with an attractiveness score of 100 have 100% chance of receiving a like. This is admittedly an oversimplification, but since I couldn't find any real data, I'm trying to keep it as simple as I can. With these curves, 50% of the likes given by men go to the top 27% of women, and 50% of the likes given by women go to the top 10% of men, which is quite close to the numbers reported by Hinge, so this should be reasonably accurate. Let's run our final simulation. You can try to guess the results now. This was a bit of a trick question. The numbers stay the same. The difference is, now the distribution is skewed by the top users who get most of the likes. That means that the averages no longer describe the experience of the average user. So let's add a new metric. The median. In other words, how many likes and matches does the average user get? And now we can see the average male user only receives 1 like and 0 matches. If you look at the average number of likes for different attractiveness scores, we see that the top 10% of male users get 37 likes on average, whereas the average users get somewhere between 0 and 1 like. And if you look at the average number of matches, something interesting happens. The top 10% of men actually get more matches than the top 10% of women. They get fewer likes, but because they're less selective than women, they actually manage to get more matches. I wonder if this also happens in real life. As I tried to make my simulation more realistic, the number of likes received by the average man went down from 25 to 12 to 7 to 1. Once again, this was just my attempt to simulate a dating app based on the little information that I could find. It may or may not describe your experience with dating apps. For example, I couldn't find data for the number of profiles users see every day, so I just assumed it was 100. And I didn't include factors like different cultures and demographics, and the impact of premium subscriptions that give advantages to paying users. Nonetheless, the simulation helped me understand what's probably happening inside these dating apps. So, what are the key takeaways here? This video is by no means making an argument against the use of dating apps. Meeting online has become the most popular way US couples connect.
Here's my thing. I know a lot of you guys are not doing all that great on dating apps, and to be fair, it's can be demeaning, and it can also make you feel ugly. But you got to understand this: these dating apps are not an indication of your value to women. These dating apps are on the extremes. Okay, so it's like the women that are on these things, it is honestly offsetting, attractiveness and a guy's value to like such an extreme length. With that being said, there's so much you can do to improve a profile. And to be fair, my dating apps have consistently gotten better since I've started working on them. And it's been the same way with a lot of my clients, the guys that have been working with me. You can turn around your profile with consistent action. And what is the reason other than the rejection and how demeaning it is to not use it? It's still a stream of income. If you have just this passive stream of income, why not use it? And if you are having this moment where you feel like you get rejected, where your dating apps are not doing that well yet, then hire somebody in the Philippines for on Fiverr to swipe for you on your dating app, and he'll just give you the people that like your profile. Or you can even I believe there's people in the States that actually do this too. You might have to do some research to figure this out for yourself, but I know a lot of people who will just pay people to swipe for them on dating apps if their dating apps are not doing well yet. So with that being said, let's jump back into it.
So dating apps do work, and many relationships were made possible thanks to them. My personal takeaway of this video is that, due to the reasons that I mentioned, dating apps can give us a distorted perspective of the actual dating world. And I think we should be aware of the impact this can have on the experience and self-esteem of the users. Because in the end, I think this imbalance can be harmful for both men and women. Men will struggle to get matches, which only gives them an incentive to like as many profiles as they can to improve their chances of a match. And
which is dumb as fuck to do. Don't do that.
Women, when they get a match with a man, they know that he's probably giving a like to every second profile he sees, so there's a good chance he's not even genuinely interested.
Well, the guys that are like that on the profiles too, those guys are also just fucking these girls and not talking to them again. They just want to have sex. So just as a heads up too, that's the hard thing girls have. So girls have an easy time with the upfront, but a hard time with the back end. So us guys, we have an easy time if we become hustlers and we work our asses off in this shit. If you work to be a bad motherfucker, somebody that a girl would love to date, you can be that guy. And it's a high risk, high reward for men. You can either whine about it, you either cry, or you can get better. You can work at this shit.
That's my take, but let me know what you think in the comments.
All right, guys. If you guys are interested in coaching or learning more about dating apps, you can text me up at 702-841-9909. I can coach you up, help you out, teach you how to be more attracted to the opposite sex. I've been doing this for a very long time and solely this. So if you're interested, text me. And yeah, show me a like if you guys want me to do more videos like this. And with that being said, peace.